Hello and welcome back to Living Life Simply. I'm so happy you joined me today as I'm going to share with you 5 lessons I've learned over these 5 years of living vegan. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Raheli, and just last week I shared with you my vegan journey 5 years later, and you can check that video either up here in the cards or I will leave it down in the description below. These 5 lessons are definitely personal to my experience, and if you're a new vegan, they might help you on your journey, or if you're a long-time vegan, you might be able to relate. So now without further ado, let's get into them. The first lesson is that veganism is a journey and it is personal to every single individual. So obviously living vegan is not the norm, and therefore it can present a variety of obstacles, and not living in a vegan world makes it that we will probably make mistakes along the way, whether it is after a week, after a month, or after 5 years of living vegan. So it is important to be gentle with yourself throughout this journey. And it is important to listen to yourself in what pace you want to go through your vegan journey. So some people do it overnight, and some people will take years until they are fully vegan. And I think that in many cases, people think of veganism as eliminating food products that come from animals, but don't think of it in a broader sense as eliminating entertainment that causes harm to animals, or beauty products that cause harm to animals, or clothing items, or a million other things. And even now, after 5 years of living vegan, I still am learning of new things that do cause harm to animals and that I don't want to continue supporting. With all of this said, even when you know about different items that are no longer vegan, you might make mistakes. You might go to a restaurant and order a dish without dairy, and then when you get it and take a bite or 2 bites or eat the whole thing, all of a sudden you realize that it has dairy in it and you feel guilty, and that is okay, but it is important to move on, forgive yourself. And sadly, we do not live in a vegan world yet, and it is pretty impossible to avoid mistakes, whether they're big or small. So it's really important that when we have a mistake, we just forgive ourselves, move on, and do better the next time. The second lesson I've learned is that people go vegan or plant-based for a variety of reasons, whether it is the environment, their health, or ethics. And I think that the people who stay vegan for the long term are people who make the ethical connection. Now, I don't mean by this that people who become vegan for ethical reasons are the only ones who stay vegan, but rather people who maybe come for health reasons or environmental reasons, and then also get educated about the ethical reasons and make the connection, they will continue being vegan. But I think that if a person goes plant-based for health reasons or for the environment, then they might not stay vegan in the long run, or might not actually live vegan. They might not be eating any animal products, but they might still be consuming beauty products that contain them, or they might still be consuming clothes that contain animal byproducts. And in some cases, they might even make an exception. If it's a celebration, they will decide to have a steak because one steak won't hurt the earth, right? Or one steak won't hurt my health if it's the only one I eat in a year. But of course, that one steak still did hurt the animal who was slaughtered for that piece of meat. So that is why I think that for someone to stay vegan and live vegan in the long term, they will have to make the ethical connection at some point. The third lesson I learned is that not everyone around you will go vegan. And I think this is a harsh reality that a lot of vegans experience. So when I first went vegan and learned all the horrors that the animal agriculture does to the animals, I felt compelled to share those horrors in the dinner table while my siblings were still consuming animal products. and share with them why it is so wrong that they're continuing to support this industry. And I was very aggressive when doing so. And now I realize that was not effective. Maybe in some cases being aggressive when talking about the animal agriculture and why your actions are wrong can actually repel people from this lifestyle, and in some ways maybe even rebel and want to eat more animal products. So I personally don't think it is the right approach. I think that we are able to show people we love and people around us how amazing it is to live vegan by example. And I do think that it's important that if someone asks you about veganism, you are prepared and have the knowledge to answer their questions and do it a very calm and peaceful conversation. I think that is more effective. And I won't deny that at some points I do end up saying the message in a pretty aggressive way just because it makes me so angry what happens to the animals. But I do my best to stay peaceful, because another thing is that I believe that living vegan means showing compassion towards others, whether it's other animals from different species or our own species. Those people were raised how the majority of the population is raised, where we are taught that eating animals is normal, that eating animal byproducts is normal, that wearing animal skins is normal. And I try to remember that and then go from there explaining why, even though that is what we were taught, it is not necessarily right. So I think it is very important to have the knowledge you need in order to have good conversations, but really keep them as a peaceful conversation rather than a one-sided dialogue of aggressiveness. The fourth lesson I learned is that it's really important to become active. And by this I mean that it is important for us to speak up for the animals and for all the horrors that they go through in the animal agriculture industry. So when I first went vegan, yes, I would aggressively talk at the dinner table to my siblings about the horrors of the animal agriculture industry, but it was not effective or it didn't reach a large scale. So I think it can be something as small as sharing a vegan recipe on your Instagram, or you can even share a vegan speech or documentary that inspired you to go vegan. And if you choose to, you can even share some slaughterhouse footage. And I know in some cases and in some people's opinion that is effective, and in others it's not. Footage from vigils can be very effective. And if you don't know what an animal vigil is basically as the trucks are coming into the slaughterhouse, activists stand out there and try to stop the trucks to get some water and love to the animals right before they get slaughtered. And I think that is amazing of the activists to do, and it's great if you can share that so that it reaches more people, because if, let's say that one activist takes a video and then 10 people share it and 10 people watch that video from each share, that's 100 views rather than just that one activist seeing it in person. So I think that is very beneficial. If you want to speak up for the animals beyond social media, there is also street activism that you can do. I personally take part in Cubes of Truth with Anonymous for the Voiceless. I have been for the past year and a half. I also know that there are vigils, as I mentioned. Those are where you go outside of a slaughterhouse and wait for the trucks to come to give some love and drinks to the animals. And I know that that is a very hard and emotional experience. I personally did not experience it, but I've met quite a few people who have. And you can find local vigils through the Animal Save movement, and I will link all of these resources down below so that you can check them out. And also there is DXCE, which is Direct Action Everywhere, and with them you do disruptions. So you either go into supermarkets or malls or restaurants and protest and demonstrate what is currently happening to those animals behind closed doors. So I think that there are many ways to be an activist and a voice for the animals, and you just need to find what's right for you. The fifth lesson I learned, or the takeaway I have, is that I started to care a lot more about a variety of issues, in addition to caring about the harm that the animal agriculture industry causes to animals. I also learned about its harm towards the environment and the health. I also started to learn and educate myself more about sweatshops and the horror stories that these poor workers have to go through for us to get cheap clothes all around the world. I also started to educate myself which industries use child labor and how I can stop supporting that. I also started to live a more zero waste or low waste lifestyle after I learned about how long plastic stays on Earth and what are the effects of plastic on Earth. I also started to live more minimalistically as I realized I don't need as many material items as I used to have. So living vegan also started making me a more conscious consumer and seeing what I want to spend my dollars on and what I don't want to spend my dollars on and support. And in general, I personally feel that living vegan has made me a better, more educated person overall. And I will forever be thankful that I found this lifestyle. So that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like it. It really makes my day and helps me out with the algorithm. Also, if this was your first time here, make sure to subscribe down below to join the Living Life Simply community and never miss another video. Feel free to share this video with whoever you think might enjoy it and learn from it. And let me know in the comments below what lessons you've learned from living vegan and how long have you been vegan. So I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!